So I'm really happy because I've managed to find a really good garage that specialises in GTRs and Subarus. And not only do they have loads of experience, but they're actually ridiculously close to where I live, less than a 5-minute drive. And obviously that's great having such a competent garage so close to home. So I took the car in to get the transmission and the diff oil changed. And I'm glad I brought it to a specialist rather than taking it to my normal guy who is more VW and Audi, because there is more of an involved process when it comes to doing the transmission oil. There's a whole clutch learning and there's an entire sequence, a process that you have to run through. We'll get to that in a bit. So we started off with the diff oil, and we use a Motorsports brand for the gear oil. We did the front and the rear diff, and it was a good chance for me obviously to get under the car and check out the wonderful exhaust system that was put on by the previous owner, which is an agency power full exhaust system from the downpipes all the way right the way through to the catback. And it's a great exhaust. I love it. It's so nice and loud, but at the same time you can close it off with the valves. Next we went on to the transmission, and we changed both filters in the transmission. This is a normal cylindrical filter and a larger kind of panel filter. We used an iridium for the cylindrical, and we used a Dodson for the other panel. We also replaced the gasket as well. Now these are reusable filters, so next time I don't have to buy any new ones, just give them a clean and then they're done. Once we'd cleaned up the excess oil off the Mechtronic unit, we just left it to sit for a little bit whilst we got started on the front diff. Now pumping up the diff here, you can see with the oil, and that was done on both the front and the rear diff. There's a little kind of like a blue oil. All the washers and plugs and bolts, they were all changed as well. And then we got on to doing the trans oil. Now I originally bought 8 litres of the Motul DCTF fluid, but actually we needed about 9.5, because once you go through the sequence of the clutch process, you then have to top it up again. So it's better to have more. So here you can see the car is now being lowered once we've topped up the trans, and then the car is started, and then we go through a sequence of running it in neutral, in reverse, and then in first gear, and that's to obviously get the transmission oil circulating around the transmission. After that's been done, the car is then lifted once again, and then we'll go through a top up phase to make sure that the fluid is at the right level. And like I said, I'm glad I actually went through this process, saw it for myself, and went to a specialist for this rather than trying to do it myself, because it's far more involved. The car's then left for about 5 minutes just idling, and then we go through again another process where we're running the car, and then we do the clutch learning. This was interesting as well because the clutches are engaging, disengaging, and I was told at this point that if you do have a fault or you've not got a healthy transmission, it won't allow you to actually do the clutch learning. But in this case it went through perfectly fine and everything was successful. So the transmission oil, the diff oil, everything now has been done. I've already done the oil change from before. Next thing is brake pads, brake lines, stainless steel brake lines, and the fluid, and then we'll get the car on the dyno, do a TCM tune, and yeah, we should be good to go. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.